So who says what the value is of a house? Like, if you ever had your home on the market and someone tells you that your realtor, frankly, don't know what they're talking about because they are out at least $50,000 or $100,000. Has that ever happened to you?
Either way, like, are you nuts? You'll never get that much for your house. It's never gonna sell. Or they might go, you know what? They underpriced it. They are bringing the value down in our neighborhood.
Oh.
And you shouldn't sell that cheap. You need to sell for 100,000 more, because then my house is worth 100,000 more.
Except they don't add that second half of the commentary, right? So we have Virginia Dawson of Sustainable Wellness now joining us today, which is so cool because we all have experiences, whether in this dynamic, sensationalized market. As homeowners and home sellers, most of us have had an experience. Even before we were realtors, we had some real estate experiences that still color and flavor how we actually serve our clients today because of the service we didn't get or the service we did get in different situations. And so everybody's got an opinion. Have you ever noticed? Even the tax department has an opinion.
Yeah, sometimes they're
too high, and sometimes they're too low, and people go, well, no, I've never had them overassess my house. Well, I have. Hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I knew they were wrong because I just bought it.
Just bought it, and they were $300,000 more than what we paid for it on the tax assessment.
It was $400,000.
Which meant we were paying significant excess money.
So who gets to tell you the value? Virginia, who have you found determines the value? I mean, I can give you the clinical definition. Yeah, real estate has clinical definitions too. Ooh. There are clinical type
do you still remember it?
Yes, I do.
Let's hear it.
Put me to the test. It is about 33 years ago that I first learned this definition, and that is a willing buyer and a willing seller under no duress with adequate exposure to the market. The price they agree to is market value. No duress on either side. Not a desperate situation for the seller and not a desperate situation for the buyer. And with adequate exposure.
That's why our market values right now are so high, is because there's desperation in the buyers because there's so little to buy, and there's FOMO.
Right, fear of missing out. There's not a lot of JOMO, joy of missing out. That's not happening right now. It's mostly the FOMO, fear of missing out. And so are the values of today actually market value? I don't know. It's what people are paying for them. Because it doesn't actually fit our definition. Like the clinical, the professional definition, right? Two people, buyer and seller, come together with adequate exposure of the property and no one's under duress. That price right there is market value. According to Real Estate School from 1989. Or 8, I don't know. When I started taking my courses in 88.
You old.
When you were 10.
Yeah, no, I was in my 20s.
She had to fight the dinosaurs to go to class.
Anyway, so determining the value, we said we'd have a robust conversation about this because I've been finding lately that my outside voice is coming out when I'm inside.
What? Your inside voice is coming out?
No, yeah, my inside voice is, and it's not, sometimes there's like an attitude.
Yeah.
So Virginia, before I go share that.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. Let's have Virginia share an experience when she was selling a house. What was your experience from other
people? Who determine the value?
Other input.
Yeah, so this is going back to, when was that? 1997, and we were selling a house in Barrie, And so that time,
You know, we met in Barrie in high school. Right?
Go Innisfil Secondary School.
so Jeff and I were selling our house, and he was already here in Ottawa. If you recall, at the time, interest rates were crazy at that time.
Not as crazy as the 80s, but they were crazy.
Yeah, 11 point something, I'm sure we were paying at the time. And houses weren't really selling. And it was very much people in the neighborhood saying, oh, you're never going to sell your house. You're never going to sell your house. And at those times, housing prices weren't, in my opinion, crazy as they are now. But, and so you start to worry, and you start to second guess, and you start to pray
A lot.
and just wanting that wisdom of, because people would say, and we were young at the time too, we just had 2 little babies. And so we didn't have a lot of experience. It was the first house Jeff had bought. And so people saying, oh, you're never gonna sell your house. There was one down the street that's similar to yours and was on the market for so long, and blah, 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 blah.
What you're saying is they threw their opinion up on you.
Yes.
And what did that do for you? Did that cause you to do extra things in the house? Did that cause you to panic? What did that create in you?
Well, I just had a baby, and I had a 2.5-year-old. So I didn't have a lot of headspace to really worry about it, to be honest. I really didn't. And I was just like, okay, whatever. And Jeff was already in Ottawa. So I didn't really have that headspace to give to it. So I just kind of went with the flow. And I don't really recall doing a lot, except like we didn't paint, or we didn't, we had just renovated the kitchen. So that was good. And it was an older home and had 70s carpeting in it. So that is actually one thing I did do. We went and we got some samples of carpeting and brought that and left it on the counter. And with prices, so that people would know this is roughly what it would cost to have this type of carpeting put in. And so that was actually, I think, helpful for people. But other than that, I don't recall doing a lot, again, because I didn't have the headspace. And we did have to get the roof redone. So that was negotiated in afterwards. But yeah, that was the experience. That was the first time Jeff bought the house before we were even, before I was in there, and before we were married. We just went with the flow. I went with the flow because he was already working in Ottawa.
Did your realtor believe in you in selling the house? Did they have confidence they could sell it?
Yes. Yeah. They were good, actually. I was just like, who was my realtor?
It was many years ago.
And did it sell?
It did.
So all those people that said it wouldn't sell.
Yeah, it sold. They were wrong. Now we did have to come down in price, but again, that was just the way it was. But we sold it.
And so it's interesting that those voices, whether they were of that time, and there are still homes today. I've had neighbors recently tell clients of mine, you'll never get that because it's an older home, it's a smaller home, it's in the country, and the neighbors aren't trying to harm anybody, or their family says, you crazy? You crazy? Because they remember when they bought their house for $33,000 or $123,000. And now that same little old house that only a handful of years ago might have sold for just under 100 will sell for $225,000 or $250,000.
Yeah.
And in multiple offers.
Did you know, Yetta, that in February, let's go back to 1980, because you brought up 1980. 1980, the average sale price of a home in Canada. Any idea what it was, Virginia? The average sale price of a home in 1980.
No idea.
$87,000 across Canada. Average.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
In February, that's a few months back, in February of 2021, do you know how much houses went up
So, okay,
on
that's,
average
okay,
in Canada?
I know, but that's
Come on.
41 years later.
I know, but how much did they
41.
go up in 1 month?
On average. So that doesn't mean every house went up that much, but we're talking, and it could be that larger homes have sold. So averages can be really confusing. People, well, my house has gone up X because the average has gone up X. It's like, no, not necessarily,
They built bigger
because
houses.
maybe they built bigger houses. And so it has really nothing to do with an individual home. We have to look at what's happening in a neighborhood. So this is a much more broad, narrow conversation. Right now we're having a broad
Yeah.
conversation.
This is just for shock value.
Yeah, he's the shock value.
The
too.
average sale price in Canada in February went up $81,000 in the month.
Wow.
In 1 month.
Wow. Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. But so who tells you what your house is worth? And then you have the neighbor that comes over and says, Yetta, you listed your house too low. You're dragging down the values of the neighborhood.
My clients call me.
And they
After
go,
we've
you're
listed it.
100,000 too low.
Yeah, I've
What were
many,
you thinking?
I know. I've many a client call me and go, Yetta, are you sure we're okay? Are you sure we haven't underpriced our house? Because my family member or Bob, my neighbor, sorry, Bob, came over to
We
visit
don't have a
and
Bob
he
as a
said,
neighbor, do we?
no,
No.
not now, we used to though.
Don't be a Bob.
So he said that we've underpriced our house and that the reason it's not sold immediately is because we put it too low. And my immediate response, okay, my inside voice come out to play inside, is Bob ready
Mm-hmm.
to buy your house?
Mm-hmm.
He wants it? Because if he wants it at that price, I'll do it. Like, let's make this thing happen. That is fantastic. I have to be careful not to say that out loud because I sound a little snarky when I do it.
Really?
Yeah. It really comes out
I've
a little
noticed.
bit snarky. But the point is, he's just sharing his perspective based on the 1, 3, 5, maybe 15 homes that he's bought and sold in his lifetime. And maybe based on watching the market for the last year, which is absolutely dynamic, absolutely sensationalized. And they probably haven't helped over 2,570 families navigate the buying and selling.
How many people?
2,570, and that's a low number, but that's the number. Over
And you're
2,000.
still going with your age?
Yeah, I'm still going with my age. I'm 34.
Age is kind of like value of the house.
It is. Who gets to tell
It's
you
in the
your
eye of
age?
the beholder.
Right, in the eye of the beholder. I
For
forget.
10 fish stories.
Yeah, fish stories. I forget I'm not 34. I do know.
Yeah. When I was fishing with Jeff, we caught a bass that was this big. Oh, I can't see my hand. No, you get into the screen. There we go. It was this big.
Yeah, that's truth. The little one was truth. So the value really is not a certainty, even if a house down the street sold for X. And even if somebody has sold a few, like seriously, there is more to it than really meets the initial observation. So we need to do an in-depth analysis. Even when I go see somebody, they'll say to me, so what's my house worth? It's like, I ain't telling you now. Like, sorry. Yeah, but you just sold 3 of them. And I just saw that another one, and you haven't done the analysis. And I said, yeah, a draft one. So I don't walk in here with a blank stare and nothing to know or say. That wasn't for you. That was for me so that I have a starting point.
Yes.
But now that when I walk out of here, I'm going to go and figure out based on all of the awesome things about your house, or what I called, one of my clients have been laughing at me lately, I call them ickies. about the ickies in a house. I
And
said, you
what-
don't have any ickies.
And what ickies are you willing to fix before
Right.
it goes on the market? Because the value of your property is too important to you for me to pull out of my sleeve. I don't have a card here, but
Okay.
pull anything out of my sleeve, right? Or you pull something out of my sleeve. Yeah, it's too valuable to you and too important for me to just pull a value out of the top of my head. To see it, whether it's on video or
Yeah,
whatever, I
video's
need to
great.
analyze it. Sometimes I need to check square footage.
Mhm.
Then I got to do my analysis of relevant properties that have sold, and then I got to look at the market. How long ago did it sell? You know what? We sold. Yeah, that's good language.
Yeah.
I need to, especially when the market's dynamic like it is now. It's better if I find things that have sold in the last few weeks than 6 months ago or 3 months ago or whatever. And if the longer it is, then I've got to adjust for
Right.
time, price over time. And that's more difficult to do than adjust for, that had a 2-car garage, and yours has a 1-car garage. That's easier to adjust for than time on the market.
Right. And then the other point is just when I got to go back to ickies for a minute, because you asked me a question. Some ickies, which are the ones that concern me the most, I know that's such a technical term.
See, I love this.
Hold on.
No, but look at the comments. You gotta love the comments. It's all about me. I'm the best.
Yes, you are.
Okay. Okay. The ickies that can't be changed are the ones I'm looking for, right? Those are the ones that actually concern me. And an icky in this market is really not of that much substance. It really doesn't matter much,
People will overlook an icky or two.
right? Even if the hydro wires are in your backyard.
And that was a hickey, not a hickey, because if you have a hickey, you mean a taller shirt.
I thought this was a real estate conversation.
But every once in a while, you got to interject a little humor
And hide a hickey.
to make it funny,
So the point really is get a trusted source that can give you the goods. What we tend to do is share the data with our clients so it doesn't seem so mysterious. Take the mystery out of it.
Okay, I'm going to show this one just because I love you. Oh, Virginia, it's been lovely. I love the fire in the background. It's one of those damp, cold days.
It is.
Watching the replay, and you have a comment, put in #replay, and hopefully it's warmer than it is today when you're watching the replay and you don't need your fireplace on.
No, exactly.
Yeah, and share your stories because it's great to hear them. Like when we were first chatting with Virginia, we said, do you have any real estate stories where somebody told you what your value was or wasn't? She goes, no. Oh, yes, I do. Oh, yes, I do. So this has sparked something. Share them with us because it may give somebody the confidence to stand firm in what they're getting from a trusted advisor.
Yeah.
Right? Pick one. You don't need 8 or 9. Pick one that you really, really trust, and then just receive the data. If we're looking at the same data, Virginia, have you ever looked at the same data as somebody else, and you arrive at 2 totally different conclusions?
Yes.
One person's delusional. They don't know how to read the data.
That's right.
So if you need help reading the data, then let's look at the data. But the data doesn't really lie.
No.
It tells a story. So if you need access to data, that's an offer we have for you. You can actually just email, I almost forgot about this, together@deckerteam.com. Together, because we really are in this thing together. As we move forward together, we really do got this thing because we're better together. So together@deckerteam.com. If you want a relevant property search, if you want data, if you really want to know what your house is worth, even if you don't want to move, it's okay. It's not a problem. Because when you're informed, you're positioned to make a great decision. Yeah.
What was that email again?
Together.
I was busy typing something else.
Of course you were. Together at deckerteam.com.
Oh, that's a great email.
I know, it's good.
That is. That's awesome.
I think I might have even spelled it right. Let's put it up on the screen and you can tell me.
Da da da.
Sometimes it's spelling and then other times it's not spelling, it's typing. So I got 2 handicaps, typing and spelling.
So if you have a handicap of any kind, it's the voice of your friend, the voice of your mother, the voice of your tax bill, the voice of your last appraisal, the voice of all your kids, the voice of people that mean you well, and you're just thinking, I don't want them handicaps.
So what you're
Ask us.
saying is if you want to cut through all the BS,
Yeah. Yes, true. Just ask. Ask the question.
And we'll give you the real goods, because when you got the real goods, you make a fantastic decision. And I know you've got a fantastic decision in you.
yeah. So thanks for joining us, Virginia, and we'll see you in a couple weeks at 12 on 12 at 15.
12.015.
15. Yeah, that thing. 15 at 15. We'll see you again.